So everyone knows what a digital nomad is. It's someone who has a job that can be done virtually, and it's someone who can work anywhere. They're location independent, meaning if they want to pick up and just go to another country, they can do that. But there's a step further that can actually save you a lot of money in taxes and at the same time diversify your whole life, diversify your finances, your assets, your business activities, so that you're safe from anything. You're essentially taking your whole life and not just putting it in one basket and just diversifying it instead. And this is called the 5 flag theory. Some people might have a 6 flag or 7 flag, but generally the 5 flag theory is what most nomads and what most entrepreneurs should seek to do. Because whether or not you're a small entrepreneur or an established entrepreneur, you should definitely always try to diversify your life. You don't want something to go wrong in one place and just destroy everything. And the reason why I said you can save money in taxes is because if you apply this properly, keyword properly, you can actually fall between the cracks of the tax system. And in order to properly do this, you'll have to spread your life across at least 5 different jurisdictions, or up to 5. It can be technically less in some cases. And the very first flag in this video is your citizenship. Where are you a citizen? And the key thing here is to try and be a citizen, or be a citizen of a country that does not tax you based on your citizenship. So if you don't know this already, the US does tax you based on your citizenship, but for the rest of the world, they don't. If you're from the UK, they only tax you based on your residency. If you're from Canada, they only tax you based on your residency and not on just having the citizenship. So having a citizenship from one of these countries is fantastic. If you're from the US, well, try and get another citizenship. You can do this by investing in a program, or you can, of course, get this by descent. If you have a family member that is from Spain or something like this, you can get a second passport and then eventually, if needed, renounce your US citizenship. Now, the second flag is to have your residency in a tax haven. And here at GenZone, we've helped literally hundreds of people get residency in tax havens. The most popular one being Dubai, where there is a 0% income tax. You don't have to report any of your personal income. It's a pretty streamlined process to get residency here. And the third flag is something that I could technically combine with number 2, depending on the country, is to register your business in a country that doesn't have corporate tax or has favorable corporate tax regimes. So for example, if you were to get residency in Dubai, whether it's through Golden Visa or it's through setting up a business, this is a fantastic 2-in-1 where you can register your business in Dubai, and then at the same time, because you have a business in Dubai, you can then gain residency in Dubai by sponsoring yourself under the company. Here at GenZone, like I said, we've done this for hundreds of people. If you want to learn more, just book a call down below. Now, the fourth flag is to diversify where you store your money. Now, for example, in the case of the UAE and Dubai, that's a great place to have your money. But you should also consider storing your money in other countries. There's a huge list. Of course, one that comes immediately to mind is Switzerland. You also have countries like Singapore, like the Cayman Islands. And although I don't like Canada for a lot of reasons, even Canadian banks are fantastic. They're extremely regulated and very, very safe. But in my personal case, I would keep all of my money away from that. Given the fact that I am a Canadian citizen, I don't want to have assets in the country where I was previously a tax resident. And I would say the same thing for you. Try and stay away from the country where you were a tax resident. Now, the fifth flag is where you spend your time, where you live. Now, in this case, it doesn't necessarily have to be one country, and I wouldn't suggest it to be one country because you don't want to be a tax resident in that country. So what do most people do, and why are most people kind of qualified as a perpetual traveler? It's because they keep traveling. They're not just spending time in one country. They're spending very little time in many different countries and traveling consistently so that they are not a tax resident in that country. In most cases, to be a tax resident in a country where you don't have residency, it takes about 6 months. So in this case, a lot of people will spend 1-2 months per country and just keep moving around to avoid becoming a tax resident, avoid having this tie, this liability of having to pay taxes to a country where you don't want to pay taxes to. Now, of course, this is not tax advice, but let me just give you a quick example of how this could actually look like in, for example, your case. Let's say you're a citizen of the UK and you decide to become a non-resident. So what does that mean? It means you leave the UK and you don't spend much time there throughout the year. Fantastic, you're a non-resident, that's great. But now you have to get residency somewhere else and you have to set up your business or your activities somewhere else. So what could you do? Well, you can go ahead and set up your business in a country like the UAE and register specifically in Dubai and run your business from Dubai. Now, at that point, of course, we would always suggest everyone to spend at least 3 months in Dubai in the UAE. But if you don't, well, technically what these people are doing, these people following this theory, would travel across many different countries and not be a resident somewhere else, not be a tax resident somewhere else, but still maintain their business in the UAE and their activities in the UAE and their finances in the UAE. So for example, let's say they spent 0 days in the UK, then spend 90 days in the UAE and travel for the rest of the year. This is a very good setup for them to be out of the reach of taxes, and this is done legally. Now, in this case, of course, they can also diversify where they keep their money. Maybe they don't store all their money in Dubai. Maybe they'll put it in some other banks offshore somewhere else. But this is generally how it works, because in this case, if you're not a resident of the UK, you don't have to pay taxes to the UK because your income isn't earned in the UK and you're not a resident in the UK. And this is applicable for other countries as well. Same goes for Canada, same goes for Spain, same goes for France. The number one thing you have to do is just not be a tax resident in the country where you don't want to be a tax resident. And that's the most important thing. After that, get your residency somewhere else and set everything up elsewhere. Now, this theory isn't new by any means. It's been around for many, many decades now, and people have been actively doing this. So if this was incorrect, it would have been shut down by now. But the fact that it's still going and people are doing this means that it's still a viable option. And at the beginning of this video, I mentioned it's a little bit harder for US citizens, but by no means is it not possible. They just don't benefit as much as people from, for example, the UK or Canada, because they are limited to the amount of money that is tax-free in their specific situation. If this sounds like something that interests you and you want to do this for yourself, book a call using the link down below. We would be more than happy to give you a step-by-step guide on how we can help you.